He got shut off? Is that what he said before he got shut off? You're right, Robbie. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, they just estimated $4 trillion in losses. Now, they're saying 1/3 of those written off so far. So take 1/3 of $4 trillion, and that's a whole lot. That's, what, $2.8 trillion or something still out there floating around. But hey, everything is just ducky. Robbie, why do they even bother lying to us anymore?
Well, I mean, lying's good for the market. Look what it did today.
Well, what did the Dow close up 100 points?
Yeah, it was in the tank by 60 points until Geithner came out, made his statement. Gold miners were doing really good, and gold miners went into the red, and the Dow went into the green. Way to go, Geithner.
I think somebody shot Bob. I didn't hear a gunshot, did you? Is he calling back in, I hope? He's what? He's on the line. There he is. No, he's not on the line. He'd be talking right now if he was. Well, and until we get Bob back up here, just to fill you in a little bit more on this, folks.
I'm back.
Oh, there you are. Now, we were afraid that somebody shot you, Bob, but we didn't hear a gunshot.
No, I have a .357 6-inch Python about a foot from my hand. So you would have heard the return fire, I can promise you.
Also, I'm glad you're here because you have been saying about the commercial markets out there. I'll get this out. General Growth Properties, you have in your newsletter this week, as you predicted, filed the biggest real estate bankruptcy in U.S. history, and I saw no news on this on the Financial News or the Communist News Network, after amassing $27 billion in debt. Now, you said in your newsletter the mall owner will continue operating its more than 200 properties, including South Street Seaport in Manhattan and Boston's Faneuil Hall, after it sought Chapter 11 protection in U.S. bankruptcy court in New York. Now, the company is listing $29.5 billion in total assets with debts of about $27.3 trillion. Does that mean they're still solvent? Do they have a couple of $1 billion sitting someplace? Their debts are almost...
No, it doesn't, but I'll tell you what it does mean is that, if you can believe this is the fairy tale land that we're in. They're broke. And they want to continue to operate. Because they say they're good operators. That's why they're broke.
Okay.
I mean, it is so incredible. And the banks get left holding the bag. And what the banks were doing is, say for the sake of numbers, a building was worth $1 million. And they put nothing down. All they did was pay interest on a 5-year note. So the banks are going to get all these properties back that do that. And how many are they going to get back? Probably half of them. What numbers are we talking about? I've seen 3 numbers between 2.5 and 4 trillion. Another beauty.
Well, and the effect that this is having on people, folks, these are all numbers, and this may not mean a whole lot to some people, but, geez, from Wall Street to Main Street to, well, where you used to live on your street, you may not be living there anymore. Money and Markets, Martin Weiss, according to a report released on March 10th of this year, more than 1.5 million American children have lost the security of sleeping in their own bedrooms. As a result, 1 out of 50 children are now homeless, and this is excluding runaways. The center president, Ellen Basic, confirmed that homeless numbers would escalate as home foreclosures continue to rise. At last count, 34% of homeless were families with children, and a woman was the head of the family in 84% of those cases. Now, here's some of the numbers. And by the way, in order of the disaster in the states, in other words, the homeless, Texas leads, followed by Georgia, Arkansas, New Mexico, Louisiana, Nevada, North Dakota, Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi, and California. The homeless youngsters in Louisiana, 204,000. California, 292,000. 337,000 homeless children in Texas. Folks, from Wall Street to Main Street. We'll be right back. A little bit more to the story about the home foreclosures, and it may be occurring to you that the banks are getting the properties back, and the properties themselves, well, the values are falling. In March, housing prices accelerated on the downside, indicating bigger adjustments dead ahead. Trend lines are now steeper than ever before, nearly perpendicular, as the story says. Housing prices are not falling. That's good news. The bad news, they're crashing, and crashing hard. Now that the foreclosure moratorium has ended, notices of default have spiked to an all-time high. These notices will turn into foreclosures in the 4 to 5 months' time, creating another cascade of foreclosures. And as I mentioned earlier, 5 more foreclosures between now and 2011. It's a bigger disaster than Katrina. Soaring unemployment and rising foreclosures ensure that hundreds of banks and financial institutions will be forced into bankruptcy. Bob, isn't there a little law on the books that if a bank is insolvent, they have to close?
Well, there is, but there are no laws. There are no rules. It is what they want to make it. You don't live in a country of rules and laws anymore. Your Congress doesn't answer to you, and nor does it to the Europeans in their European Union either, for that matter. Your court system has been purchased as well, and so you have 2-tier court system. One for the rich, and everybody just gets fined, and they let them go so they can do it again. And then there's a court system for us. And so the whole concept of law and rules is dead. It's over. And that's why, when all these things that are going on and tea parties and stuff like that isn't going to do any good. I mean, these people are in control, and they're not going to let anything get through. And they're going to do what they want until there's a revolution. It's pretty simple. And when you have figures like this that you've just recited, and I've got more here about the 620 FOIC that the big banks are now lending against, which is subprime, at 105% of value. They're doing the same thing they did 3 to 4 years ago. They created the subprime and Alta fiasco. Inventory for sale will build as more and more homeowners walk away from underwater homes. Bank repos are up 60% of sales in the form of 40 top hot cities, and they make up 35% of listings. Add to that the 20% of the short sales, and you have 30% real to the market sales. These losses are reflected in consumer spending, which is in free fall and will be for years to come. The gravy days are over. America will never experience the lifestyle again that they had from 1970 to 2005. You are going to see a new mode of living akin to that of the years from 1945 to 1970, more nearly like the 1950s, bobby socks and all. Meredith Whitney says house prices will fall another 30%, and we agree. These events over the next 3 years, along with the collapse in the commercial sector, will finally take down almost all major banks. She says we'll see an average of 50% correction. That is higher than the 35% we made in October of 2004 in residential real estate.
You know, Bob, I'd said this before, and we're going to go to your calls right after the bottom of the hour. So those that are holding, continue to hold. We'll get to you in...
John, can I interrupt real briefly?
Sure, go ahead.
Could you tell your producer to pay attention to Skype?
Okay.
Because I'm having problems hearing you.
Okay. Aren't you on ISDN today?
Yeah, I'm on ISDN, but I'm trying to communicate via Skype, telling him to turn up the volume a little.
Well, just tell me, and I'll throw something at him.
Please do.
I just forgot what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
Well, you want to borrow my Python?
We have bulletproof glass between me and the producer. It has to be that way. John in Arizona. Hello, John.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I love your guys' show, especially on Tuesday when I have all three of you there.
Alrighty.
The only thing missing, and I think even you guys voiced this, would be Gerald Salente to join your group.
Yeah, I tried to get him on, and he had another booking engagement today, and he couldn't come on today.
Fair enough. Yes, sir. There's two things I wanted to bring up, and this one in particular is pretty important to me. It occurred. You had somebody cover for you. I believe it was Thursday.
Yeah.
You were off Thursday of last week?
Yes.
And I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he was actually, I was getting the impression that he was trying to convince people